Okay, today we are going to talk on the topic of self-sabotage. What do we understand by self-sabotage? Can anybody tell me? Sabotage, we know. Sabotage is to destroy something that is there, something that is pleasant, what is working for us or what may be working for us. Is when that is destroyed, we call it as sabotage. I was sabotaged or something was sabotaged. Do we agree to that? Right? Now, what does self-sabotage mean? Self-sabotage would mean I am destroying something that may work for me or may be working for me or may have worked for me. Now, how many of you, Tushar, do we have the recording on? Yes, it is. Thank you. So, how many of us agree that sometimes we do sabotage ourselves? Unknowingly? Yes, thank you,
Yes,
Krishna. Unknowingly, knowingly sometimes, just because we want to get even with some people. Yeah, we so many times, our mothers, biggest self-sabotagers, the big drama of motherhood. When the mothers have a fight with the daughters or their sons and they stop eating. Mala bhook nahi hai. I won't eat. Even the son, when young children, when we have arguments, fights, uh, husband wives, don't we sabotage our health because somebody else made us feel bad or made us feel unworthy?
yes,
Right? Now understand, why do we do it? Are we even aware in that moment when we are self-sabotaging ourselves that, okay, Tushar, kadlu. Are we even aware in that moment that the actions or whatever we are doing in that moment is destroying ourselves? We are not destroying the other. Maybe it's like I'm punishing you, but to punish you, I am hurting myself first. So, what is the point of the punishment if you have to hurt yourselves before the other person feels hurt? Right? So now let's come down to the core of why do we get into self-sabotage. Okay? As a child, now let's understand that all these beliefs or all these coping mechanisms, defense mechanisms are picked up in the childhood. We have said this before, 0 to 2 is a victim phase. Then 2 to 5 is the defending of the victim. And 5 to 8 is the coping of the defenses that we speak about. And then this together forms personality patterns. So like this, we have 3 or 4 personality patterns, right? Now understand, by punishing myself as a child, I realized that somebody who's angry with me or somebody who thought I should not be speaking to this person or is punishing me is counter punished because of my actions. Is it complex? Good morning, Vani. So, do we understand that when we are looking or when we are looking at punishing somebody else, like for example, my mother stops eating food if she and I have an argument. And my love for her is so immense. She realizes that I love her so much that she begins to punish herself to punish me for whatever I have done or whatever she perceives I have done. And like this, often self-sabotage happens with only loved ones. We begin to punish ourselves with only intimate relationships. We don't sabotage ourselves for external factors. The relationships that are very, very significant to us, very important to us, very very close to us, their opinion, their ideas of us matter to us. We only punish ourselves to punish those people. Tomorrow, if you tell your boss, oh, boss, you said this to me, and therefore I'm going to punish myself and not eat. What is the boss going to say? Oh, that's very great. Great, you realized your mistake and you're not eating. Great, you are putting in 2 hours of extra productivity for the work. Is that going to serve your purpose? So,
Mm.
understand that all three aspects that we are looking at, the victim phase, the defense phase, and the coping phase, have been learned in our childhood. And they are very, very important from a significant person point of view. Now, let's understand what has happened in this self-sabotage. In this part, as a child, something happens in my environment. And usually, we are not dealing with an environment. We don't punish ourselves because the environment is toxic. We don't punish ourselves because I am toxic to me. Self-sabotage almost always, or rather, I want to say 100%, but in psychology, we don't say 100%. So 99.99% of the times, we are self-sabotaging because some other person who is significant to me has destroyed me or has said things to me that I don't approve of. And is it because I don't approve of it, or because whatever the person said or did has made me feel insignificant, has made me feel not important? And I am saying, I didn't expect this from you. How dare you do this? When a small child goes to the fire, or picks up a knife, or does something that's dangerous, and the mother just picks him up like this, or the father just picks him up like this, away from that stuff, how does the child react? What is the child doing? छोड़ दे मुझे, छोड़ दे, I want to go there, I want to do this, I want to do this. That's our normal reaction. And then what do we do when you're doing this? Because we were not allowed to do something, we are failing our hands, and we are just, mat karo, mat karo. In this whole process, we are hurting the other person. Have you seen small children when you pick them up and they want to be playing on the floor, and you pick them up and you hold them like this, खट करके अपने मुंह पे एक तमाचा झड़ देते? Because something they were doing, something they were liking, something they were enjoying was interrupted by a significant other. And because it was happening by a significant other, what does the child feel? I didn't expect this from you. You should have known better. You should have known how I will feel about your actions. And then they end up hurting themselves and hurting you for what you have done to them. When the child is doing this, don't you think they are hurting themselves by kicking? They're kicking you, they're hitting you, but at the same time, they are also hurting themselves. Right?
Right. Yes.
So,
Mm.
what happens in this situation is that was a child's response to the environment and to the person who was hurting. Today, I am an adult. I am presuming. Most of us don't let go of the child ego state. But today, I'm an adult. I have to step back when I'm hurt, observe what is it that I want to do or what is it that I'm going to do, and then act accordingly. Am I willing to become the adult? Now, please understand. Usually, when we are destroying ourselves, it is you don't destroy yourselves for your children. You usually destroy yourselves for your parents. Because as a child, they told you, I'm going to give you examples. Okay. As a child, they told you, don't do this. Hey, karu nako, tula kalat nahi ka, you don't have brains. Why are you doing this? And then you felt discounted, so you want to punish them. Usually, it is the younger generation who's sabotaging themselves to punish the older generations. Also, it is the older generation when they become old and they are in a very fragile state. That is when they start to relive the childhood and they start to punish you by not eating, or they start to punish you by playing the poor me helpless game. Do we experience this with our parents, with our adults, how they play the emotional game with us? If they are centered, if they are cool, then they have a communication with us. But otherwise, they start throwing tantrums. And who throws tantrums usually? Always a child. Always a child. So understand again, being more present to which ego state am I functioning from? By now, we know there are three ego states. Can somebody tell me what are these three ego states that we are talking about? Tushar, you're not allowed to answer. People who have heard my talks, people who know Kedar, you are allowed to answer because you know this answer already. Pratik, please may I request you to have your video on even if you're lying down in your bed, it's okay. Thank you. Yes. Sachin, if you can, please have your video on. Yes. Anybody who can tell me what ego states do we exist in? Pratik also should have this answer. People, you
So
need
I
to
know about the like. Are you talking about the id, the
no, no,
super
no. I'm not
ego,
talking
and
of the
not
no,
those?
I'm not talking of the ego, super ego.
Allow me,
I'm
allow
talk
me,
Okay.
no, no, no,
allow me.
no, no, no. Okay, come on, you tell us.
Parent, adult, and child.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So what happens is, as a child, we were a child has to be a child, correct? But then we adapt to our environment. When we adapt ourselves to the environment, what are we doing? We realize that, oh, if I act like a mature child, then I will be appreciated or I will be praised. Like if you give a chocolate to a 5 year old or a 6 year old, what is a childlike response to this? Tell me. People, please unmute and
Glee,
talk.
glee.
It is happiness. Okay. But how
Yes.
do you think action? How does it reflect in actions?
Jump with the joy.
Yes, jumping with joy, being happy. Yay! I have chocolate. Yippee! And can I have one more? Can I have another? That is a childlike response. I'm talking of a 5 year old. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, if that 5 year old says, give me some more, can I have two? Can I have four? Is it natural, normal?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, it is childlike. Now, understand there is a 7 year old child. Now, that 7 year old child is saying, is happy, is like takes the chocolate and says, Ajunde, give me more. I want more. I want three more. Why did you give two to him and you gave me only one? Where is this person coming from? How do you think? Where is this 7 year old functioning from? You see,
Competition.
no, no, competition, yes, yes. But he's
Okay.
coming from a child ego state. The 7 year old is acting like a 4 and a 5 year old. He's not acting like a 7 year old. The 5 year old's same actions are considered adult because he's acting his age. Now, please understand when I'm saying adult ego state, be very clear. We are not talking of becoming adults. We are talking of the mental age versus the physical age. The mental age of a 5 year old is acting like a 5 year old, then he's acting like an adult. If a 5 year old acts like a 3 year old, then he's acting like a child. If a 5 year old acts like a 8 year old or a 7 year old, then he's acting like a parent. How does a 5 year old act like a parent? Now you give a chocolate to a 5 year old, and the 5 year old says, Noko, I don't want a chocolate because if you eat chocolate, you have decay in your teeth. And my mama said it is wrong to eat chocolates. I will not eat chocolates at all. Who's speaking? Is the child speaking or is the parent of the child speaking through the mouths of the child?
Parent.
It is a parent who's speaking. It is a parent who's interacting. And when it is a parent who's interacting, it is an internalized parental tape for the child. The child has internalized, has made the parent's opinion his true opinion. When the child is acting like a small child, like a 5-year-old is looking at the chocolate, is trying to open the wrapper and puts, like you give him 3 chocolates and he puts all the 3 chocolates in his mouth and he goes like this and then he's drooling everywhere. Then is he acting like a 5-year-old or is he acting like a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old?
3-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Right? So now what is happening is the child is acting like a small child, is acting like a 3-year-old. So now he's a regressed child. So he's not acting from an adult ego state. The child is acting from a child ego state. Are we clear about the ego states versus the adult behavior? We are not talking of the physical age or growing up. We are talking of the mental age versus the physical age of the child.
Yeah.
Now,
Can I ask one
yes,
question?
yes, definitely.
So if that 5-year-old child,
Hmm.
when he has given a chocolate, if he asks for another chocolate for his 2-year-old sibling, what is
Hmm.
that ego stage? Is it a parent or adult?
It could be an adult ego state. It could also be a parent ego state. The idea here is that the 5-year-old, how important is that relationship with his sibling? Because if I love my sibling so much, I'm saying, hey, मेरे भाई के लिए भी एक chocolate दो ना. Then I'm functioning from my age. But then he takes the chocolate and without enjoying that I have a chocolate, before even feeling happy about the chocolate I have, and he says, give me one more for my brother, then probably he's coming from an ego state of a parent because the parent has taught the child, you need to share with your
Yeah.
sibling.
Okay. Okay.
And if this child breaks the chocolate and gives it to the sibling, then he's functioning from a child ego state. But if he's asking for another one, or if he's saying, if he slowly eats the chocolate by himself and doesn't give it to the younger one, he's acting his age. Because we are supposed to do that. Think of ourselves first
Correct.
as children. But if the child is saying, no, I have to think, I will not eat this chocolate, but instead I will give it to my sibling. Now he's functioning from a mother or a father state. Because what does a mother do? Before putting something nice in her mouth, she gives it to her children. So what is this 5-year-old doing? Before putting the chocolate in his mouth, he's giving it to the sibling.
Sibling.
If he eats the chocolate, bites it and goes choo 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 and then says, now take this, that is also an adult ego state. We have to understand what is expected from that age group in that time. If I'm living as per the expectations of that age group, I am an adult ego state. If I'm not functioning like that, if I'm acting more than my age or less than my age, then I'm either a child ego state or a parent ego state. And understand, usually when I am self-sabotaging myself, I am functioning from a child ego state. Because I am wanting to punish a perceived parent for something they didn't do right for me. And I'm punishing them, I'm hurting them by punishing myself, by injuring myself. Either when I'm saying injuring, I'm not talking of physical injury, I'm talking of emotional, social, even psychological injury. When you sit like this in a corner and you don't talk and your mother says, come talk to me. No, don't talk to me. I don't want to talk to you. I'm going to leave my, have you seen 5-year-olds, 7-year-olds pack their bags, put it on their shoulder and say, I'm walking out of home. And they want their parents to say, no, bachcha, mat ghar chhod ke jao. I love you so much. How can I not live? How can I live without you? All that drama. But if the parents opens the door and says, okay, walk out. What is the next instant of the child? Child will take a U-turn and say, jalebi kha ke jata hu. You remember that ad? मैं जलेबी खा के जाता हूँ.
I was about to say that same. Correct.
When the mother says, okay,
That remains.
go, leave. घर में जलेबी बनी है. And
Correct.
suddenly the child is lost. What should I do? And the child does not have the ability to act on the self-sabotage, but as adults, we act on our dhamkis, if I can say that. We threaten our parents. मैं ये कर लूंगा, I won't eat food, I won't come out with you, I won't love you, I won't hug you, I won't call you. And these are very simple things. We self-sabotage ourselves in multiple ways. I'm going to give you my own example. I was very good in my studies. I was an intelligent child. At least my father believed that about me. I didn't believe that about myself. So when my father, sure, Mukta, whenever you have to leave, that's fine. My father wanted me to become a doctor. He always wanted me to become a doctor. And just because he did not allow me to study psychology in my younger times, I defied him and I told him, I will never become a doctor. I will never become a doctor. And when we say that I will never become a doctor, I deprived my father of the pleasure to tell people that my daughter is a doctor. I was punishing him of not becoming a doctor. And I self-sabotaged myself in that moment because in that moment I said, you want me to study science? I will not do it. I want to study arts. You're not letting me do it. So then instead I will study commerce. So I became a commerce graduate. When I became a commerce graduate, then of course history unfolds. I was a gold medalist in accountancy. My father thought I would do something in as a CA or something in numbers. And just to defy him again, I told him, I won't become a CA. I'll go into the travel industry. And that's how things unfolded for me. But then once my father passed away, I of course studied psychology. And I have 2 doctor titles to my name today. I have 2 doctorates to my credit. And if my father were alive, would he have not been happy to know that मेरी बेटी सच में doctor बनी? He would have been more happy to know that doctorate hai. It's not just learning and reproducing, learning and memorizing. It is application of the knowledge also. He would have been so happy to see me the doctor. And what did I do as a daughter? I said, I will not give you the pleasure of having the doctor title in front of my name. Was it not self-sabotage in a certain way? And after he passed away, I gave myself those 2 titles. और एक से मन नहीं भरा, 2 दिए. So this is self-sabotage. Don't you think I destroyed that relationship in a certain way? Not that it made a major difference. Did my father stop loving me? Not at all. But don't you think he would have been more happy? He and I might have had a better, meaningful relationship if I had studied sciences. And probably because to defy him, I studied commerce. But when I studied psychology, when I started to study psychology, I realized that if I had a science background, I would be a better prepared psychologist. And eventually, मुझे वो पढ़ना ही पड़ा. I had to study chemistry. I had to study biology because it helped me to understand the psychology of the human behavior better. I would have been better equipped if I had studied it younger. What pressure I felt later on of having to study those subjects that my father had suggested, I made my life more miserable or more challenging. Just because I wanted him to be punished, or just because तुमने मेरे को psychology पढ़ने नहीं दिया, I am not going to study science. Of course, and today I can justify my actions that time by saying, उनको कहाँ पता था मैं psychology बाद में पढ़ने वाली थी. Isn't it? So understand, this is how we begin to self-sabotage because we are punishing people, we are punishing our significant other. And often we do that with loved ones. Does this make sense? Now the idea is, how do we recognize self-sabotage? Because people will say, हमें पता भी नहीं था कि we were sabotaging ourselves. So how do I know that I'm destroying myself? Very first thing, ask yourself, am I happy with this decision? Am I truly centered? Do I feel peace here with my decision? If I'm feeling peace here, then yes, it is the other person's problem to deal with whatever is happening in the environment. But by saying no to my father, am I at peace? I can say yes, because I was unaware. But the idea is, I was not coming from peace, I was coming from superiority, ki I won this argument. And whenever there is winning and losing in the relationship dynamics, then we've lost the plot. Winning and losing are in competition. And are we really competing with our loved ones? Or are we going and traveling together, growing and traveling together in life? The idea that I'm trying to say here is, be true and be mindful of who you are being in this moment. What am I feeling? When I am feeling a certain emotion, don't discount the feeling. Acknowledge it. I'm feeling superior, I'm winning. Why is there a need to win? Why is it that I need to be superior than my parent, or why do I need to feel superior than the other person? Is deep down, I am feeling inferior about me. You only compete or you only want to win when at a deeper level there is a question mark about your ability to win. We are testing ourselves. We are asking ourselves, am I capable of this? Now, I'm not saying competition is wrong, but competition has to be amongst equals. We can't compete with children. We can't compete with adults. Our abilities are different. Competitions are great. We need to test our ability so that we recognize ourselves. The point is, when we are into a state of competing with the other, we are wanting to put this person down. And the need, like suppose my father, not suppose, my father is here. I am here. Now, what am I doing by competing with it? I'm saying, मैं दिखाती हूँ आपको, wait and see. I put a challenge in front of him. And usually these challenges are emotional in nature. And when they are challenging, then I have to stretch myself because I have to be equal. So then I'm stretching myself to come here. When I come here, then I pull this person down by winning. And have you really pulled this person down? No, it's only in your head. And what is the outcome of this? Do you really feel good about the choices that we made because of self-sabotage? You really hurt that person. Because for a mother or for a father, seeing the child destroy themselves to win is not a happy moment, is not really happening. And sometimes you just have to let the child make his mistakes and learn. Often as a mother, I see many parents who are centered or mindful, they let their children go and make their mistakes. When they have suggested something and when the child does not take the suggestion, they know कि आगे जाके शायद ये टूटने वाला है, आगे जाके ये गिरने वाला है, या आगे जाके बिखरने वाला है. But the parent just waits here and sees that destruction. Imagine how painful is it for the parent. And the struggle for the child also, because the child is if this journey of winning is not easy for the child. How much of physical, emotional, social pressure on this child to win against the parent. And when I'm saying parent, I'm not saying your biological parent. Sometimes we want to win against our older sibling. Sometimes I want to win against my chacha, chachi, relatives who are significant, my dadi, nani. These are relatives, even my best friend sometimes. If I perceive my friend to be superior than me, then I want to drag the person down. Somebody who's older in their age, older in their experience, older in their wisdom. And this is how are we self-sabotaging? One is the price I have to pay to win, to be right. So one is the price that I am paying, and two is the cost of the relationship. What is the dynamics? The dynamics of the relationship changes. When when the parent is saying something to you, like in my case, my father told me, study science. I am here to help you, because he's from an engineering background. He was more than happy to tutor me. And just because, no, you don't teach me, I don't want to learn from you, I discounted his ability. And imagine how my father felt that he was tutoring so many people, and his own daughter, who he loves so much, has said, no, I will not learn from you. Sorry, I don't want to learn from you. How discounted did he feel in that moment? And if he felt discounted, do you think he and I can have the same relationship? Don't you think our relationship was challenged even by 1%? Did I not deprive myself of a beautiful father-daughter relationship just because I wanted to win a battle against him? Yes, no, maybe so.
Yes, of course.
So understand that when we talk of self-sabotage, we are not only destroying the other person. If you are destroying only the other person, never mind, not your game. But if I have to destroy myself, and you know what we destroy the most? Our own sensitivity, our own sensibility. Winning becomes such a huge task. And then realize, if you have started this game of sabotaging yourselves younger, then you are going to sabotage yourselves in the adulthood more, because you coped with the trauma of your parents not listening to you, with the trauma of how you felt as a child, that you are going to cope by sabotaging yourselves as an adult. How many times do you do things in your workplace, in your relationships, just so that you can prove to your parents that, look, because you made this decision as a child, today I am not able to be happy. And we play the blame game with the parent. People, that situation happened then. I am carrying it today in my thought, emotion, and sensation today. Today, that parent does not have the power to sabotage your thoughts, your impressions, your emotions. And yet, we carry that opinion in your time and continue that coping mechanism of sabotaging myself in my adult life today. And that pattern continues to happen again and again and again till I withdraw from that competition of having to prove my point. So, who's the loser in this concept? Your parent chose to do it once or twice or thrice. And then I carry the pattern of what my parents made me feel in that moment. Remember, it's not their responsibility. It is the perception or the meaning I add to the environment and the actions. And when I felt that, oh, they are using this, they are doing this, and I continue to behave like this with others who haven't done damage to me as yet, because it's the perceived damage. I perceive that, oh, because I was treated like this, all adults who I put in the place of my father or in the place of my mother or any significant other, I'm going to react and act in the same way I reacted and acted with them in certain situations. Often, please look into your environment. Have you realized that one of your bosses says, hey, you know what, I'm going to transfer you from this department to that department. And what is the instant reaction that we have? Oh, this man doesn't like me anymore. He's transferring me because he doesn't like my work. Oh, because I'm superior than him. Because I'm superior than him, then that man is feeling threatened about my existence, and therefore he's putting me into another department. He doesn't want to see me grow. He's feeling threatened by this. Probably that is the truth. How will you know it is your truth? Ask. The adult can ask, hey, you know what? I respect that you want me to be transferred to another department, but I would like to understand the reason for doing that. An adult would ask this. Often we don't have the courage to ask because we have perceived the senior in a position of power, superior, and or we are considering this person dumb and we've already made him the villain of our life. So we say, koi fayda nahi hai पूछ के. कोई फायदा नहीं है पूछ के. So then what we are doing is we are already presuming the reason for the transfer. And when the person has transferred, we are not giving our best in that department. Because in our heads, the boss was unfair and therefore he transferred us to a different department. And you want to prove the boss wrong. So then you're saying, see, I'm not performing because I was not meant only for that department. And probably your boss transferred you to a different department because he trusted your ability to handle that department to your best. And you're saying, no, I don't want to do what you want me to do. So are we not functioning from a child ego state?
Yes.
And even if you feel that you do not have the ability to handle a certain department, you can turn around and ask your boss, boss, probably I don't see myself working in that department. What qualities or what abilities do you see in me that you feel I'll be able to do justice to that department? And therefore, if we can have empathetic communication patterns with adult to adult behavior, there is no conflict. The conflict begins when I make myself superior or make myself inferior. Superiority coming from a parent ego state and inferiority coming from a child ego state. And who's at a loss when I get transferred to a different department and my boss, you haven't questioned the boss, you haven't had your reasons, you haven't had your, maybe going into a different department is about shifting my comfort zone. And often we don't like our comfort zone shaken. So when my comfort zone is shifted, it goes from one place to another. I have to start from zero and I'm saying you are responsible for my discomfort. And we don't want to get out of our comfort zone without realizing that the comfort zone has brought me up to this position. After this, growth has stunted for me. And my boss probably wants me to grow. And therefore, he's saying, go to a different department and start afresh. How many of us were excited when we go to a new class after our exams and when we get promoted? Are we excited when the new year, academic year begins? We
Yes.
all were excited. Then what happened in this whole bargain? Because new year, new academic year means starting from zero. You have proved your point in class 6. Now you're in class 7 and you are at zero. Everybody starting from there and going up. When newness was exciting to us, what happened in this growing up stage that when I have to start something afresh, I'm saying, nahi karna. Mujhe 6th standard mein hi rehna. I did 6th standard best. I don't want to go to standard 7. If I had done that as a child, I would have self-sabotaged myself so drastic. And thank God our teachers and our parents didn't give us that option. When we are asked to repeat a class, how does our self-esteem get destroyed? Then why does our self-esteem not get destroyed when when my boss or somebody in a position of senior says, okay, go to a different department, start afresh?
Maybe because we are from class 6 to 7, we are going collectively, and here someone is going alone.
Correct. Correct. It is going collectively, definitely. And thank you, Kedar, for bringing that up also. When we are going collectively, what is happening is only I am transferred to that department. There are not 4 people from my department who are transferred. If there are 4 people from my department who are transferred, I'm not going to complain about that transfer. But when only I am transferred from this position to that position, I feel it's a punishment. I have seen this in grade 9 and 10. In the earlier times, the very intelligent children would go to A grade. Then the less intelligent group would go to B grade. And according to your capability, you were divided and segregated. Do you remember this in classes? If you were in a A division, it was like a
Absolutely.
superior. You were very, very intellectual. Now imagine all my friends are in B and only you get promoted to A. How do you feel about it? Don't you feel punished? But then you are put in a superior class.
Because
But
of
then don't you feel?
loneliness.
Yes, because you feel lonely. Thank you, Kedar. That is exactly the feeling. You feel lonely when you are pulled out of your comfort and put in a new situation. And that feels like a punishment because one fear that we all have is about being alone. But then trust our ability to make friends, no? If we survived until now, what makes us believe we won't survive there? Right? Great. So that is a thought. We sabotage ourselves, we destroy ourselves because of personality patterns we've made in our childhood. Self-sabotage comes from a childlike ego state, and we are punishing an adult, perceived adult, for what they have chosen for us. And we are powerless to that decision that was made. If we can exert power, then we are not powerless. But we feel powerless and we feel that their decision is imposed upon us and we don't have the power to make a different decision. I didn't choose this decision for myself. And therefore, I'm going to destroy the outcome of the choices these adults made for me. Yes, being mindful that how am I feeling when I'm making a decision about an unhappy decision? What am I thinking, feeling, sensing about what is supposedly imposed upon me, and then making the choices without reacting? Is it possible that I can respond to a situation? But for that, we need to be connected to our sensations. Often we make cognitive decisions. Cognitive decisions may seem logical, but are irrational. And these irrationalities affect my emotion and destroy my sensation. Then I become unwell, then I'm feeling sick. I just keep telling, since जब से मेरा transfer हुआ है उस department में, my health has gone for a toss. I'm not being able to sleep well. I'm not having time to eat food. क्यों मुझसे दुश्मनी निकाली है boss ने, मुझे पता नहीं. And how easy it is to blame the boss. I'm not saying the boss is an angel. But understand the devils of our lives are here to teach us a lesson and help us grow. The angels put us in a comfort zone. The devils come us, shake and say, move out of your comfort. Adapt, grow, adapt, grow. Right? So with such great thoughts, I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to start taking questions if we have any. Good morning, Tejraj. first time in our session. I'm so thankful that you chose to attend the session. And if there are any questions from anyone, I would love to answer them.
I have a question.
Yes, Shruti.
So, in the story, you shared about how your father would have wanted you to opt for science and become a doctor, and you chose a different path, which was a way of self-sabotaging. What would have been the non-self-sabotaging alternative there?
So one is to reason with the father as to why science or why not science. I could have convinced him for psychology then. But then I already gave up and I said, oh, you're not letting me study psychology already. So I will not study science. If I had had an empathetic conversation with him, letting him know the passion I had for the subject, and if he saw the passion, probably he wouldn't have been the villain I perceived him to be. Two is probably reason with him why science. And he would have given me 10 reasons of why science. Okay. Often we do selective listening, Shruti. My dad said because it helps you to develop analytical skills, deductive reasoning. And that didn't make sense to me at that time. And I said, no. But then developing reasoning skills and deductive reasoning, analytical reasoning would have helped me in my profession as a psychologist also. But then the self-sabotage happened because I accepted that you are never going to change your opinion. And therefore communication stopped and blocked. Or I could have told him, Dad, I'm sorry, you are stuck on your opinion that I should study psychology, but I'm very truly passionate about science, and I'm truly passionate about psychology. And I think I want to do this. If my parent had seen that conviction in my communication, then he would not have objected. Does that answer your question?
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr.
Hi,
Singh, do
Pallavi.
you? Yes,
Yes.
hi, Jaydeep. Please ask,
I,
Jaydeep.
yeah. So, Pallavi, thanks. The self-sabotage I heard for the first time. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, what I understood was, is self-sabotage has a negative attribute to it,
Hmm.
or self-sabotage can also be a positive attribute to improve you as a person or to handle the situation in a much better way.
It does. I'm not saying that self-sabotage is wrong. I am just saying that the intention for which you are starting the self-sabotage, that is incorrect. When I am saying, like, if I complain, he kept complaining that, oh, because of my father, I lost 4 years of my life, 5 years of my life. It is waste of time that I had to study commerce. I never did anything about the commerce graduation, or it was useless for me. Mera time barbad kar diya. I wish my parent was more sensible. They shouldn't have done this. Then I'm stuck in the self-sabotage. Today, I realize that studying psychology later in life gave me a deeper perspective of the subject, made me wiser in understanding the subject. I'm not blaming my parent for the loss of 4 or 5 years of my life to come back to study psychology. And yes, it was positive for me. But how am I using my accountancy knowledge? What am I doing with that? It only gave me peace that I destroyed my father's happiness. Am I using
Right.
that knowledge of accountancy in any way? If I had chosen accountancy because I was going to utilize it, because I loved it, because it is happening, then it was different. Does that make sense? But
Yeah.
what I'm doing is I am just blaming, if I blame my parent for destroying my years, then I'm continuing with the self-sabotage. If, say, a parent pushed you into studying science and you studied science and you grew in life because of the science, then it is motivational, it is positive. But if it didn't help you grow and if you decided to destroy yourselves and not grow at all, that is when it is a negative connotation. I've said this always, there is no right and no wrong. It is only how you look at a situation, how you look at a perception that will make it right or wrong. And right and wrong are always as a consequence. You don't choose the wrong choice if you knew already the consequence of it. When you make choices for your life, you are very convinced that this is the right thing to do. It is only when you come to the consequence or the end of that choice, that's when you realize, oops, I should have done this better. Haven't we done this before? We always, when we had a choice to make, when we are on a fork junction, we make a choice. And when we come there, we say, Arey, I should have chosen that. Or that was a better option. And then we have people telling us, see, we told you that was a better option. But when we are making those decisions, people are also equally sitting on the fence when they're giving us those solutions.
Hmm.
Does that
Right.
answer your question, Jaideep?
Yes, yes, Pallavi. Thank you so much. And one more thing. So, can I say self-sabotage can act as a mirror to our subconscious mind,
It is,
revealing deep-seated fears or insecurities or limiting our beliefs?
Jaideep. Everything that happens to you, me, us, is a mirror of who we are. Anything that is happening in my environment and makes me discomforted or even happy is a mirror of who I am. If I see or if I'm inspired by some person who is outside of me, then the ability that inspires me is a trait within me that I fail to see. If somebody is frustrating me, angering me, upsetting me outside of me, that is a trait that I fail to see in myself. So my environment is definitely a mirror of who I am at every given point in time. If I continue to look at my environment as a mirror, then I'm definitely going to grow.
Hmm.
Yes. Thank you.